Hi everyone, welcome to Viewers Mistakes number 10. This is the series where I rate my viewers from A to F, and other people involved in any other incident, and this is down to risk and what they could have done better, not blame.
What the f***?
We'll go through this clip in a minute. This video has been kindly sponsored by Car Vertical. This roundabout is crucial to what the van could have done better, but I'll come back to that shortly. But first, let's see how early my viewer spots this van. Well, we can see it here, and the brake lights are on, but the van driver can't see my viewer yet. And at this point it's still the same, but my viewers already clocked this problem. You could hear them roll off the throttle, but they just needed to do more slowing now. Recognising when you might not have been seen is even more important when you're on two wheels. Up to this point my viewers done well, but they let themselves down a bit. Now let's talk about the van driver a little. First of all, they were parked fully on the pavement and they're trying to go in the same direction my viewer's travelling. If anyone's ever driven a van or even a larger vehicle like a lorry, the view to this left hand side when you're on the right hand side of the road is rubbish. So the better and safer option would have been to reverse into this entrance fully so they could have approached this junction at 90 degrees. And if the road is busy, like it is, they've also got the option to turn left, go back down to the roundabout that we just saw, and then use the roundabout to turn round to come in this direction. But this is a rented van. The person driving might not have that common sense. Have you? I also don't think my viewers got experience of the difficulties of driving these type of vehicles, because if they had, I'm sure they wouldn't have put themselves in this situation. A sound of the horn from my viewer at this point would have also been perfect. What my viewer does next is poor. They go on some solid hatch markings, they swear at the van driver and then point at a camera.
What the f***?
In the midst of that, the van driver did hold the hands up and say sorry, but they still get an E. Emerging like that is really dangerous when you can't see, especially when you've got options. But my viewer's contribution was quite high, they could have done a lot better, so they get a C. And this is a perfect clip to complement the last one. My viewer sent this in thinking that they'd made a mistake, but I think they acted impeccably. They did exactly what my viewer on the motorcycle should have done in a previous clip. This time it's the Mercedes driver emerging from the central reservation that we're watching. Notice how my viewer stayed back of any potential point of impact. The use of the horn was good and there was no further confrontation from my viewer. Everything that we said about the driver of the van before can be applied to the driver of this Mercedes. Keeping straight in the central reservation would have given them a better view, and they had to do much better with their emerge, especially on such a fast road, and for that reason they get an E, but my viewer gets an A. I wouldn't even know where to start if I tried to put this Ford Mondeo back into working order. That's a really heavy front offside hit that nearly ripped the front wheel off, but this Car Vertical report shows us before and after photos. These are from 3 years after the damage, and it looks as though someone's done a pretty good job of the repair. The mileage looks as though it's probably genuine, and the financial and legal status also checks out. But if we look at the timeline, this vehicle has changed ownership many times, 10 to be precise, and this leads me to think that this vehicle still might have an underlying problem. I've said before when Car Vertical reports have uncovered information like this that I would advise getting this vehicle checked out by a professional if you were thinking of buying it. And guess what? Now you can book that physical inspection with a licensed mechanic to check over 200 inspection points of the car that you're interested in, straight from the Car Vertical website. You'll receive a detailed report including photos and videos from the inspection that allow you to be 100% sure about your decision. This is a great addition to the services Car Vertical provide in my opinion. Please use my link in the description, and by using the promo code Ashley when you're checking out your next potential purchase, you can save yourself 20%. Thanks Car Vertical. Let me set the scene. You're on an unfamiliar road. You don't know which lane goes in which direction up ahead. Do you join the queue to the right or do you use the space? Waiting as my viewer is could potentially disrupt the flow. Therefore, this mistake that my viewer makes was an easy one, and I'm sure it's one we've all done on occasions. It was difficult to see on camera, but we've just sat through a sequence of traffic lights, and it was really difficult to tell whether any vehicles went straight on from this left lane. But my viewers chose it anyway. The road signs and markings are poor in this situation, and I'm pretty sure you've already sussed out that this is a left turner. When this has happened to you, do you get that sinking feeling realising what you've done and now the problem that you're going to have to get back into lane 2? Well, let's see how my viewer deals with it and how all the other vehicles and drivers around deal with this also. The first thing I'd like to look at is where my viewer waits. I actually think this is a good job. We know exactly how people can get triggered if you use all the road space and go down to the front. So waiting where my viewer does, I think communicates with the people in this queue to the right that, "I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, can you help me out?" The cyclist seems a little aggrieved that my viewer hasn't left them all the road. But let's see the problems my viewer encounters now as they're trying to fit into lane 2. You can just about see the reflection on this number plate. I think that's from my viewer's signal. I'd now like you to watch how my viewer times their move off. Again, a nice piece of communication to ask, "Can I?" And the driver of the silver car obliges. Now watch the van in lane 1 and the motorbike that's behind it. My viewer accommodates these also. So even though it was a mistake, my viewer and the car behind both get an A. Well done. Some cracking footage from a VFO A139 Pro. It's exactly the same model that I use. And I'd like to say a massive thanks to everyone who has purchased the dashcam using the links in the description and the code Ashley. This will still save you 5%. Now on to the clip. We'll have a look at it first. The phone zombie Pedestrian is old enough to know better, so they're going to get a C. You cannot just walk straight out, even though the hierarchy rules in the highway code make some people believe that they can. Please do give me your rating in the comments for this four-wheel drive parked on the zigzags. But how do you think my viewer got on? First of all, their following distance and their speed are good, but it may very well have been the good space that my viewer leaves from the vehicle in front that invited this pedestrian across. However, I'm never going to tell you to drive closer, am I? This is absolutely an A-pillar blind spot moment, as we see all too often, but my viewer's low speed and care to go around this corner gives them time to spot and deal with the pedestrian stepping out. Don't forget the dashcam is placed in a different position than my viewer's eyes. Interesting one this. I don't think my viewer could have done a lot differently. Just potentially increase your observations where pedestrians could step out in front of you. For that reason, I'm going to give my viewer an A-. And remember, parking on zigzags can come with a fine and points on your licence. In this clip, my viewer is going too fast and travelling too close, and nearly comes a cropper. And add in the poor road surface and you'll understand why. My viewer was also really late reacting off the brake lights, but the driver in front was also very reactive. Stopping like that when my viewer was so close wasn't a good idea. Both drivers are pretty poor in this instance of dealing with safety space, and both get a D. In this final clip, we're going to be looking at one of my viewers who's travelling too fast for the distance they're looking ahead. Don't forget, all of these clips are sent in by people who hold their hands up to these mistakes. And that takes a fair bit of courage. Watch the central reservation. And this car in particular. It hasn't moved yet, but look how long it takes my viewer to react when it does start to emerge. That really was a dreadful emerge by the driver of this red Volkswagen, but my viewer reacted in slow motion. There's also a lane free to the right hand side, and my viewer now checks whether it's clear. A good healthy dose of improvement needed by both of these road users, and that's why both of them get an E. Keep safe everyone, I'll see you soon.